What is going on, guys? Sir Lewis here with a video regarding Bitcoin 2026. It's enemy year, the horse year 2026. And I feel like I'm the only one really making videos on this. Doesn't get a lot of views, right? But I'm not making, these videos for the views or anything like that. It's really to inform you guys on these things, right, that I see a pattern on. And shout out to all you guys who are here watching. You guys are the OGs. Appreciate all of you guys. And I just want to talk about this because I'm not saying I believe in these things, but I do have an open mind to these things, right? I take these things into account regarding the enemy year, basically Chinese Vietnamese astrology, right, in regards to investing. But in this video, I just want to show you here how Bitcoin performed in its first ever enemy year in 2014, which was a horse year, right? And if you didn't know, the rat and horse are enemies. Okay, this is it right here. Across from them, there are enemies, right? Each sign has an enemy. There are 12 signs. Each sign has an enemy. They do really well on their own year, right? Because it's their own energy, and they do really bad on their enemy year. Things go against them, basically. Okay, if you didn't know. But basically, I want to show you here because Bitcoin was founded on a rat year, January 3rd, 2009. And this is how it performed on its first ever horse year. And starting, I believe, late January 31, I believe, 2014. Okay, you can see that, Bitcoin had a small test here, right, where it went from like 246, maybe to 46, back to 46. So, I mean, this month was a big one, right, a very volatile month. But it wasn't really like a major test. So it was pretty, very fast, right? It was very fast, and then we recovered pretty fast and went to like over 1,000. Okay, this was Bitcoin's major first test, not just because of the amount that it fell, but because of the time length. Look at all these months here. And if you would have guessed it, this was all in Bitcoin's enemy year, the horse year of 2014. Yeah, this entire year, it's just been in this, and basically Bitcoin's longest downtrend ever since it got created. Okay, ever since it got at this point. Okay. It was its longest downtrend. And by the end of this video, guys, stay tuned because I'll give you guys here an update, connecting this with next year, 2026. So stay tuned. But I just want to share this because this was Bitcoin. We topped out here before its enemy year, 1,214, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people back then, it was probably very underrated. I'm pretty sure only a couple people, let alone knowing about Bitcoin, but also knowing about Chinese astrology and how it relates to it. But you can see, pretty sure a lot of people that took profits here before its enemy year. And if I were to measure this Bitcoin in its enemy year, it basically fell 84%, right? From the start of the enemy year, 84% drop. Basically not 85, it's 84.93. So this was Bitcoin's biggest drop ever since it got created from this point. Not just that, but the time length, right? The longest period where it was just in this downtrend, boom, boom, boom. And then we actually bottomed out right here, and basically where it topped out here back in 2013, the year prior. But we went from we basically went from 1,214, where it topped out the year prior, to 153. 84. That was more, but from 1,016 to 153 is an 85% drop in Bitcoin's enemy year. So it's kind of crazy. And you can also see right here, we had bearish divergence here too, right? Where we had the first top, you can see how we were very overbought right there. But then the second top where we were much higher. I mean, look at this, compare 1,200 basically to 255. That's a pretty big difference, but this is also a big difference where we put in a low in stochastic. And that, as you guys know, I teach in my course. If you guys are interested, you can check it out. But that's bearish divergence and usually signals a top or a massive reversal or pivot to the downside. Okay. And that's exactly what happened in its enemy year, right? We got that bearish divergence right before its enemy year. And then in its enemy year, which, by the way, it's these vertical lines is basically the enemy year that had 2014. It's basically just the biggest downtrend ever, right? And then it slowly bottomed, and it wasn't a fast recovery after its enemy year, right? It really took till September 2015 for it to really start to gain momentum back to the upside. So after its enemy year, it was ranging basically in this range here for months, right? Absolute months here after this really dreadful enemy year 2014, the horse year. So how does this relate to right now, right? Because next year we know it's going to be Bitcoin's second exposure, the second time Bitcoin experiences its enemy year, the horse year, since 2014. It's going to be the beginning of 2026, not the beginning, the beginning of February 17th, I believe, 2026. Okay, so each year is different. This one was January 31 where it began. This time it's going to be February 17th, but then it ends a little later into January or maybe even February, I believe. I got to check that when the GOAT year starts. But basically, you know, how do we prepare for this? Because this is a big warning, right? This is a big warning. And, you know, I'm not going to say here that I 100% know that we're going to keep dropping into its enemy year, right? Because there's a big chance that we can explode and top out in its enemy year, right? So there's a lot of scenarios that can play out. A lot of people right now are scared and they're going to sell everything before February 17th. And I think that's a big mistake because it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to drop in its enemy year as soon as it starts, that is. I do believe that there will be a pivot. Okay, there'll basically be a top for Bitcoin, a top for the markets. And it's just really the sign. This should be a sign to take profits. If the momentum changes and we explode into 2026, you'll know that the sign to take profits, especially if we have euphoria. Okay. It might seem like, oh man, you know, Bitcoin is not really reacting to its enemy year. You know, this is all false. Doesn't make sense. And then it can top out in its enemy year, you know, slowly come down and then crash towards the end of 2026, going into 2027, right? And a big reason too for this is the Samuel Bennett chart, right? I showed you this plenty of times. 2026 apparently is going to be a time of high prices. You know, the best times to sell all types of values, which include crypto. We see this. We see a lot of, you know, quantitative easing for 2026. A lot, you know, the interest rates coming down. And now I believe Trump is signaling tariff stimulus checks, basically. So we see a lot of, and they also signal that December is going to be the beginning of when quantitative tightening is done. I think December 1st or the end of December, I believe. So we know that quantitative easing is coming. We're going into 2026, which the Samuel Bennett chart shows as the best times to sell. And that's been pretty accurate, right? We looked at it had 2007 there at 1999. And those years were critical in selling because the next 1 or 2 years after, we dumped. We had a collapse in 2008 and the dot-com bubble crash, right? So, yeah, I mean, this is a big sign. I don't believe it's going to be like the previous horse year where we topped out prior and then we just keep them. Right now, it's looking like that, right? Right now, it's kind of looking like that where we possibly topped out before its enemy year and we're gaining that momentum to possibly crash lower, right? So I'm open-minded to that too. I'm not going to lie. But I feel more confident that we will explode in its enemy year because of the environment that we're in right now, okay? And we can explode in its enemy year. It doesn't make sense. Top out and then come crashing down, right? And the perfect example that I always share with this is XRP. XRP's positive year, to the Dragon year, 2024. The entire year, we were basically ranging from 63 cents to like 40 cents XRP until November. We went from like 47 cents to $2. $2. 47 cents to $2 in its positive year. So, you know, the same thing with Bitcoin. This entire year, people are like, you know, that understood this. And I made plenty of videos on this. And this is why XRP is my biggest holdings in terms of profit, because I bought a lot during this time, preparing for its positive year. And during this time, I wasn't, you know, discouraged. I was just like, it's still its positive year. Anything can happen. And anything did happen. We went from like 50 cents or so to $2 in just 1 month. So that's what I'm saying. Bitcoin can explode and top out towards the end or even towards the middle of the year and then slowly come down. Okay, so I'll be making more content regarding this. I know it's very niche. I know it doesn't get a lot of views, but I don't care about the views. I love you guys. I want to inform you guys on things that I actually pay attention to. I don't want to keep this, I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not going to keep this a secret. So I just want to share this with you guys. And I'm not saying I believe in this stuff. I'm just open-minded to it, right? So love you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.